Church, weed. Before, it was kind of like this. At the First Church of Cannabis, it's this. I'm fascinated by this whole concept, so I'm here in Indianapolis. I'm gonna be a Cannetarian for a day. It's not real.
In March of 2015, Indiana Governor Mike Pence signed into law SB 101, also known as the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It's a controversial law granting religious freedoms to people and businesses. Many thought the bill was a way to discriminate against the LGBT community, and the bill was met with a whole lot of protest and anger. The bill was eventually amended so that businesses couldn't discriminate against gay and lesbians, but it still laid the groundwork for the First Church of Cannabis.
Is the First Church of Cannabis in any way a sort of protest to the Religious Freedom Act?
It's a celebration of the Religious Freedom Act. They have paved the way for wonderful religious freedom that I never thought possible in Indiana. So it's actually a celebration.
That is Bill Levin, the Grand Poobah and the First Minister of Love for the Church. He's just shy of 60 years old. And sure, he created the church, but he is just the type of character that it needs for notoriety. He's charismatic, energetic, and full of love that reminds me of the status quo old hippie.
So, what is the First Church of Cannabis?
It's a church built on the cornerstone of love, compassion, and good health. We use cannabis as our sacrament. We pray with it, not to it. We find that it brings us closer to ourselves, closer to God, closer to others, and that it keeps us healthy and happy and stable. It's just a blessed plant. We're a church that celebrates life's great adventure. You know, the good stuff that goes on every week. We don't have guilt, sin, or judgment. That's for the other guys. That's how they want to do it. That's their trip. It's not ours.
The general reception to you guys starting up and coming in the neighborhood. How would you classify it in a word?
50-50. We had people coming up, embracing us, telling us thank us for being here, and we had people standing on the edge of our driveway, you know, saying that we were sinners and we were going to burn in hell. The very first night we got in here was a Tuesday, and we got a message from somebody in Nevada.
Shameful, shameful. There are times to shame. Shameful, shameful to you. Flying to the devil. Shameful, shameful. God's not happy with you.
Is that not the best?
But you hear this message, I'm sure there's been others. I'm sure there's been emails, there's been letters maybe, if people still do that. Explain to me how this never gets to you.
I cannot be bothered by ignorance. I can only be amused by it. I find it entertaining. I look at these people, you know, and I want to unscrew their head, and I want to see, how does that work? How do you really think like that? How are you so judgmental? How can you call me from another state and tell me I am a sinner? My God, you are just completely blown out of your socks.
Their first service was accompanied by a bunch of protesters, mainly local churches that don't agree with Bill's gospel.
We're here to let our voices be heard. We're not here to argue and fight.
Since then, most of them have moved on, but there are still neighbors who aren't happy with the church being there for a couple of reasons.
What is your biggest beef with this church opening up here in the neighborhood?
Biggest beef is kind of two things. One, it's a loophole to create this to legalize marijuana is what his whole thing has been about. And two, it's a church, you know, Bible-based church, and just what he's come in and what he's done to it.
What about it on the inside has just really upset you?
Naked David.
Naked David.
With the pot plant.
Okay.
David was beloved of Jesus. You know, God loved David. You know, he's in the, you know, King David.
Right.
You know, and then you got the hands of God with a joint. But I don't think God promotes drug use.
His basis is marijuana legalizing, but that brings other things. It brings other drugs, other things, and that's another thing we're concerned about. Marijuana, oh, what's in there? We have it, you know. then what does that bring in the neighborhood? Our way of, I guess, protesting is we're evangelizing. We're sharing what we believe is the real truth of Jesus Christ versus what truth that he's sharing.
Preaching is about Jesus and about God. You know, even the other religions preach about something, but he's talking about some plan.
It's not just the neighborhood unhappy with the church's presence. Also, the Indianapolis Police Department. They've increased patrols, planted undercover officers, and even installed a camera facing directly towards the church.
Criminal acts of smoking marijuana or using drugs of any type on the premises knowingly, and those who aid and abet are violating the law. We recognize the First Amendment right under the Constitution. We're not infringing upon it, but we have to recognize there are civil rights, criminal wrongs, and moral wrongs.
That is Indianapolis Police Chief Rick Height. He's basically promising to arrest anyone seen smoking marijuana in or around the church. At first, Bill was defiant, but eventually he decided not to use cannabis at the first service of the First Church of Cannabis. Instead, he lit a cigar.
So let me ask you this. Why didn't you light up a joint on that first service? Wouldn't that be the best?
Because they gave us, I went from being a criminal in a criminal court, that when that Friday they came out and gave that press conference with such blatant religious persecution in front of God and everybody. They took us from being criminals into a clear civil case. You know, hi, do you want to go in and be criminals and defend yourself, or do you want to be offensive and get them for being, you know, in a civil suit? And the civil suit fits much better.
Right.
And we don't have any problems with any parishioners, you know, getting in trouble, because the whole thing was we were all going to light up at once.
Right.
To say that there's been blatant religious persecution for our core beliefs is an understatement. And because of the questions we have about the laws, we've invited our state and city fathers to a small meeting in a courtroom so we can clarify what is a religion and what is not.
Right.
The church filed a lawsuit against the state of Indiana, Governor Mike Pence, Indy Police Chief Rick Height, the city of Indianapolis, and even the mayor Greg Ballard for religious persecution and denying them the right to get high during church. And guess what? Bill is quite confident that they'll win.
The gift the city gave us was by far a better legal advantage.
So after hanging out with Bill, learning about the church, and even talking with some local evangelicals, the parking lot was filling up, people were filing in, so it was time for church. It started out like an old gospel service. The house band, called the One Love Orchestra, played a couple songs to get people going. Then Bill came in and hugged everybody. And I mean everybody.
It's about love. It's about companionship. It's about fellowship. It's about being with each other and feeling as one. I'm gonna hug every person in here.
Hello, I love you all. Welcome to the First Church of Cannabis. This is our third service. I'd like you all to stand, please. We're going to do our first prayer. You know this prayer because you've been here before. I recognize all these smiles. I'm glad to see them back. Put the smile on. Repeat after me and turn any way you want. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
So after the I love you prayer, Bill invited up people to give testimonials. Some were happy, some were sad, but they were all honest.
I survived stage 5 nasopharyngeal carcinoma last year.
Then Bill went through the Deity Dozen. That's basically their 10 commandments, with the final one praising their sacrament.
Cannabis, the healing plant, is our sacrament. It brings us closer to ourselves and closer to others. It is our fountain of health, our love, curing us from illness and depression. We embrace it with our whole heart and spirit, individually and as a group. One toke, one smile, one love. I love you. Welcome to the fellowship.
And just like their previous services, no one lit up a joint or sparked a bowl or anything like that. Bill did light up a cigar, and with that, church was done.
It's always a passion of positive love energy. You know, it's that old hippie thing, peace, love, Woodstock.
Yeah.
we compress it and shoot it out of bazooka at everybody, and it just goes boom.
Sure.
After the smoke from that positivity bazooka cleared, I spoke with some of the church's devout followers.
Why can't you just smoke a joint and go to a Baptist church, or smoke a joint and go to a Presbyterian church? What's the difference?
It's not
here?
even about, I can come here sober and I'm fine, like, I'm high right now. But you know what? I had the greatest time.
Right.
When I get high later, I'm gonna be thinking about this.
Me personally, I smoked about 3.5 grams before I came. I get high each and every day. You know, it's not a secret. You know what I mean? This is my religion. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I feel love with. Everybody in that church feels where I'm coming from and loves me, and I love everybody in that church, you know? It's just all out real, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Bill's not doing nothing wrong.
I think that it is an excellent idea. I've been using cannabis as a sacrament for many, many years. It's not something you pray to, it's something you pray with. Cannabis opens the mind of those who are willing to have their minds opened to new ideas, new horizons within yourself. We know for a fact that cannabis is good for the body. We know for a fact that cannabis is good for the mind. Why would we not think that cannabis is not good for the spirit? You know, we're not saying if you love Jesus, you don't have to stop loving Jesus.
Right.
You know, he might appreciate the fact that he's getting some fumes.
That's great.
Everything I heard from these guys, I figured I would hear. But then I met Shay, a young woman who doesn't even smoke weed.
When I first came, I asked my friends what it was about, and I really thought it was just going to be all about smoking and everything. But it was all about love and believing what you believe in, and they didn't really say anything about pressuring you into doing anything, which I like because I'm a non-smoker. So I like it because I have a 1-year-old son, and I believe that he should be able to grow up believing in whatever he wants to believe in, not what people tell him he should or shouldn't believe in.
So how do you feel when you get off stage and you're done?
When we're done on the pulpit?
Right, yeah. How do you feel?
I feel wonderful.
Yeah?
It is so cool to see a room of